It's April 27, 2024, Saturday afternoon, about 1:30, and today I'm here to start the final stage of bottom work on Seaquestor, my 1972 Allied Princess 36, which you can see behind me. So I'm going to switch the camera around and talk a little bit about what I want to do. Here's the boat, and what I have already done was I went all the way along the water line. If you look there, you can see a sort of line in the bottom paint, maybe 8 inches below the boot stripe. And that is where the actual water line is. Years ago, I raised my painted water line so that the actual water line would not be on topsides paint. And I actually did that in 1997 when I did the bottom job on the hull. And since then, I have just been painting the hull every year with ablative bottom paint. And that's fine. Below the water line, the actual water line, the ablative bottom paint wears away over the course of the season, and it doesn't build up any significant thickness. But between the actual water line and the painted water line, the paint doesn't wear away because it's not in the water. And the result is I had quite a bit of paint build up there. So over the last 2 weeks, I went over that entire waterline strip all the way around the boat, about 60 lineal feet, with a carbide scraper, and scraped off excess bottom paint. In some places I scraped all the way through to fiberglass. In other places I just got the top layer or two of bottom paint off. It was over 1/8 of an inch thick. And then a couple days ago I came in and I taped the waterline. You can see the blue tape there. And I touched up where I had scraped through to fiberglass or where I had a very thin spot. And today, what I'm going to do is move the 2 forward stands forward a little bit, and then I am going to start painting the bottom. And basically, what I want to do is do as much of the bottom paint as I can. I'm going to start up at the actual water line and do about a 1 foot wide strip all the way around the boat. So that I have at least 2 coats of bottom paint all the way around. And then, depending on how I feel, I'll start working on one side or the other of the boat and hopefully finish bottom paint on one side of the boat today. Probably this side, the starboard side. Just because this is the more difficult side because of the placement of the stands. I have to sort of scramble around between my stands and the stands on this Bristol Channel Cutter 28 next to me, and work that way. But hopefully by the time I leave today, I'll have a bit more than half of the bottom painted. And as I said, I'm going to move all the stands. I've moved the aft stands, aft 2 stands on each side, forward a little bit. And now I'm going to move the last stand on each side forward, the forwardmost stand. And I will then paint where the stand was. And then when I come back to repaint, I'll be able to just move the stands and back to where they're supposed to be, and the entire side will be finished. Now, at the aft 2 stands, I've already put a coat of paint where the stand was by brush, but today I'm going to roll it on. So hopefully this side of the boat is going to be nice and uniform by the time I go home today. And then I'll come back Monday and do the same on this side. So that's the plan. Get the boat ready for launching and get all the bottom paint on before the 1st of May, so that hopefully we can get in within the first 10 days or so of May. It just depends on weather and how my wife feels, because I do have to have her drive me around a little bit on launch day, and a few other things, what else I want to do. But we're hopefully going to get a lot of work done on the boat today and get her as a little bit closer to being ready to go in the water for the 2024 season. So I'm going to get going, start painting, and when I finish, I'll come back. Okay, it's about 3 o'clock now, and I've finished the painting I'm going to do today. I quit because my lower back told me to. And what I have done is both sides of the boat, about a foot and a half down from the water line. And right up here at the bow, I've gone all the way down and done the leading edge of the keel, and maybe another foot and a half of the keel on both sides. And I painted the rudder. So what I have left to do is basically, you can see the line in the paint where I stopped. I need to go from there aft on the keel and on the curve of the hull above it. So probably an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes of paint work the next time I come, which is probably going to be Monday because the yard is always closed on Sunday. Let's have a look at the other side. So this is a pretty thin coat of bottom paint. You can see this side. The irregularity in the color is basically how quickly it's drying. It's drying pretty fast today, but I'm back to the same point on this side. And I've done the bottom of the leading edge of the keel, and about the same amount to do on this side. So an hour and 15 minutes, maybe an hour and a half on Monday, and the bottom of Seaquestor will be painted before the end of April. Now back here at the stern, on Thursday, I came over and I brush painted 2 coats of paint on the propeller aperture and the leading edge of the rudder, and in between the aft edge of the keel and the forward edge of the rudder. And I also painted on the rudder bracket down there, which is bolted through the bottom of the keel. So, yeah, it's done down to the front of the prop aperture. So, hour and a half of painting Monday. I still have to change the zinc. On the prop shaft, I've got the new one. I just haven't put it on. Largely because I couldn't find the right size Allen key. I just don't know where I put it. It will turn up and I'll get it done. And here you can see I've done the rudder, leading edge, trailing edge, bottom, and both sides. And let's go around. So what kind of bottom paint am I using? Here's the rudder on the other side. And everything done. So let's turn the camera around and I'll talk about that to you. Okay, the bottom paint I'm using is a Petit paint, and it's called Neptune HRT, and there are a number of features that I like about this paint, which are the reasons that I use it. First off, the Neptune stands for a water-based paint. That means it has very low volatile organic compounds that come off when the paint dries. It smells like a mild latex interior paint. So it's not bad at all to work with. You don't have to wear an organic vapor respirator, and it's pretty nice paint to work with, and it cleans up with soap and water. Now, what else do I like about it? Well, you don't put a very thick coat on. I'm using a 3/16 inch nap roller and rolling it on thin, which means that I will be able to paint the entire bottom of Seaquestor here with 1 gallon of paint, which is good because this paint is, like all bottom paints, expensive. And but That's one of the things I really like about this particular paint, is that even though it's expensive relative to other bottom paints, it's quite cheap. It cost this year $103 for my gallon, which is a really good price. And the final reason I use it is that it works. Here on the coast of Maine, I find that this paint, which is about the cheapest bottom paint I can buy, and it's also water-based, does the job. When we hauled out after almost 6 months in the water last year, all the boat had on it was a little bit of slime, which came right off with the pressure washer. Could have taken it off with just a hose. So it works really well, and being an ablative paint, it does not build up on the hull proper. It does build up above the waterline up to the boot stripe, as I mentioned, but you can deal with that. So that's the paint I'm using, and very happy with it. It does the job. I've thought about going to a copper-free paint, but they're ridiculously expensive. I think about the cheapest one is around $2.75 a gallon, which is just more money that I can justify spending for this. So anyway, that's that. Seaquester's bottom is at least half done, and Monday, unless my back tells me otherwise, I will finish painting the bottom, and from that perspective, the boat will be ready to go into the water. But not completely. There are some other things I need to do. Let's turn the camera around and talk about a few of them. Okay, one thing I'm going to do this year is repaint the boot stripe. While I was scraping and sanding the upper part of the underwater hull, I did scratch the boot stripe paint a little, and it's a little bit old and it's not as shiny as it should be. So I'm going to sand it out and put a couple more coats. I'm not sure if I'm going to retain the color. Right now it's flag blue, but I might change the color. Not because I don't like flag blue, but because I don't think I have enough to put even one more coat on there. But I have some other colors that might be interesting. And when I get to that, we'll see what I have lying around the house, all left over from previous projects, that I can use to paint the boot stripe and make it, as they say, pop. I think I might go with a brighter color. And then up on board the boat, you can't see it from down here, but up on top, I want to sand out and revarnish all the teak on deck, which is basically the cockpit combings and the cabin top handrails and the companionway boards and trim. So that's pretty simple. That'll only take maybe 2 days to mask, sand, clean up, and then put a coat of varnish on. And if I'm ambitious and it looks like I have time, I might put 2 coats on. And I might also compound a little bit of the hull. It's been a long time since I did it. Hull's looking pretty flat, and there are some marks and stuff on it that'd be nice to get rid of. Like right here, for example, you can see some sort of reddish marks. That's where I wasn't thinking when I was scraping. I put my hand up there and got bottom paint dust on the hull. So that'll have to be cleaned up. But other than that, she's looking pretty good. And this paint will be nice and even tomorrow after it has completely dried. And then we'll get going on the rest of the hull and the keel. So that comes pretty close to wrapping up my bottom work for my 1972 Allied Princess 36 Seaquestor. And the plan is to get her in the water by May 15th this year so we can get the sails on and go sailing in May, which we haven't done for the last 3 or 4 years. It would be nice to get out there a little earlier this year. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, I'll come back Monday and show you what this hull looks like when I have finished all the bottom paint. Thanks for watching today.